Okay, so I'm here with Jamie today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Synapse, which is a new VR game coming out on the 4th of July by Dreams. Hi, Jamie, how you doing?
Hello, thanks for having us.
Absolutely no problem at all. Thanks for undertaking this review process with us, getting battered about and
No,
dying very frequently.
oh yeah, it's definitely a challenging game.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, it's like a roguelike shooter. You're working your way through, pretty much, I would say, like a wave shooter. You're working your way through sort of scores of enemies, getting points, coming back with upgrades, um, getting stronger each time. Although, I don't know, I do feel like I am getting stronger, certainly
hmm
with a few of the upgrades, but at first, even though I was upgrading a couple of things, I did feel like I was not stuck in mud, but I felt like I wasn't improving. I don't know if you did you feel that at all?
Yeah, so like you say, it's very roguelike. I kind of compared it a wee bit in my head to something like Returnal, where
Absolutely.
as you play through a run, you're constantly gathering power ups, and even even as you're playing a particular run, you're gathering power ups. But when you die, you're going back and you're constantly upgrading your character essentially. And yeah, no, it's definitely a challenging roguelike game. So if you're a fan of those types of games, then this is definitely on that kind of watch list.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I think the first couple of upgrades didn't necessarily help me. I mean, I probably wasn't getting better fast enough, to be honest. But yeah, I think when you go in, sort of once you've got a few more upgrade points and you're like adding extra health, so you're
hmm
all of a sudden you're starting with maybe like 125% health. Like
Mm.
things like that, I think started to make a difference. And then obviously, like some of the upgrades, like the telekinesis upgrades, like when I finally upgraded and was able to like use telekinesis on enemies, that was a massive help. Like I'm just off a run 10 minutes ago there, and being able to throw enemies around, it allows you like so. First couple hours with the game, I was playing it very tactically,
hmm
almost as if I was trying to be stealthy, which you
Mm.
can't really be because the enemies are alerted to you very fast. But I was ducking for cover. I was
Yep.
trying to just peer out, trying to get headshots. I was almost exclusively using the pistol
hmm
because I felt it had more accuracy, and obviously it's got that sort of, you would call it a red dot sight, but it's a blue dot sight.
hmm
And I was almost exclusively using that. But I did find that once I got the telekinesis that I could throw enemies, I
Mm.
was like, right, every single time I've cleared a stage, I've had a C ranking because
hmm
it takes me 15 minutes because I'm cutting about the place like on the ground commando style. Whereas now, when I can throw enemies, I could actually try and do this fast. So all of a
hmm
sudden, it was almost like a different game. I was playing it like I was sprinting about the place and just throwing enemies left and right,
Aye.
exploding this, and then I started using the not the minigun. What do they call it? The SMG.
Oh, the SMG. Aye,
And I started all of a sudden getting lots of kills with that, and I didn't like that gun earlier. But
hmm
I think if you are playing more fast paced, then certainly that's running up to enemies and just unloading a clip of that on them is really good.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with this kind of game is it's always one of these ones we're talking about a VR game as well. So I found the combat fun, as you
Hmm.
said, when before you learn some of your more kind of advanced techniques, shall we say. You're running about your the gunplay itself's good. Like, so if anybody has played Dreams' other PSVR or PSVR1 game, which was Fracked,
Yep.
it follows a similar gunplay style where you've got the cover-based mechanics. So you basically duck behind cover using that. You basically using your controller. You can
Hmm.
pop up, you can headshot. So you've got that cover-based shooting element. But then when you get the telekinesis, and we're not spoiling anything because
No.
this is in the trailer. It's fucking game changing for me. Like, it takes the gameplay from a sort of like tactical to it's still tactical even after the telekinesis, but it's a different type of tactical. You could run about just pushing enemies out of the way, throwing them off bridges, throwing them in the water, picking up, just it's kind of almost setting traps for them as well. So you'd throw so many of them into a space and then grab a barrel and blow it up. Um,
Yes. Yep.
it's and that's one of the great things about the way the skill points work is they're tied directly into how you kill enemies as well, and how many enemies you kill, and the variation of kills as well. So I just personally, I can't fault the game so far. Well, that's maybe not fair. I can fault the game, but there's so much going for it that any of the negatives are way outweighed. I'm having a lot of fun with this game.
I would totally agree. Like I really like it, and it's I feel like with Fract, a lot of people didn't play that game. I think it came out quite late in the PSVR1 life cycle, and because of that, like, I remember when it came out and I was thinking, this game's really fucking good, and it didn't get anywhere near the sort of acclaim and the attention that it should have, and I think it's because a lot of people were like, I've packed up that PSVR1 and I've lost the instruction manual on how to set it back up, and so they just didn't, do you know what I mean? It was only like the hardcores that were left, and so, yeah, I feel like them being able to bring that gameplay over again, and let's be honest, in a more stylish sort of coat of paint, like, it's going to attract a lot of people, I think. And I feel like it can't be the only one, but I don't think I've played another VR game that has that cover mechanic like that, where you can just sort of grab one and pop up and down. Is there? I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of VR shooters I haven't played, but I haven't played one that's got that.
I don't think I've... Yeah.
Unless for like a Pavlov or something maybe does.
No, because I'm immediately thinking of Blood and Truth that was on PSVR1, but it was more of a... It was more... It kind of snapped you into cover and you just popped up physically and...
Yeah.
And then
it had no free movement.
It had no free movement. Pavlov's cover system, nah, again, that's all kind of done manually by just pushing a button to duck. Or actually getting on your hands and knees. I've
seen that, but it's so intuitive. Like the way they do it.
Yeah, because you're basically pushing a button, and you essentially grab the object, and then you pull down on your controller, and it's so tactile and it just works really well.
It feels really natural as well. I think, like, just with the way the PSVR2 controller, like. The way you it's essentially what would be, well, for me, the L1 button. It could be the R1 button if you're left-handed, but so it feels like you're actually grabbing onto something and obviously pushing up and down. The only thing I would say, and this isn't a fault on the game, but I find if I'm trying, like, if I've got the pistol and I'm going for, like, maybe a semi-long range shot and I'm trying to get a headshot to take them out in one, like, I'll duck behind cover, but then my hand isn't steady enough for the aim. Like, I need to sit my gun arm on my left hand to steady myself, and so I do duck behind the cover. But one thing that's good is if you duck behind the cover, when you let go, until you move, you stay at that height. And I thought that was really clever as well. Because you can sort of put yourself into cover and adjust to what you want, and then hold it there and just sort of like get the right angle.
100%. No, and then once you've got that ability to move stuff, well, you get the telekinesis ability really early in the game. But once you're able to pick up and throw enemies around, you do just feel, and it's done in such a way that you actually feel powerful. And for me personally, and I know PSVR2 is quite, it's very, I don't know, the words doesn't spring to mind, but the eye tracking features maybe don't work as well for some than they do for others. For me, the eye tracking in this is absolutely incredible.
Yes.
Like, and I know from what I've been reading, this is a PSVR2 exclusive, and you can see why. Because the eye tracking features, sure, you could turn them off. You could use the controller to move to target your enemies, but the eye tracking is just so good. Like, it works for me. It works really well, and it's so natural. You do it without realizing it. Like, you're looking at an enemy, I'm just gonna pick him up, throw him, and then you look at a barrel and you move the barrel across, or the crate. You just do it, and then there's you move the platform, some of the lifts to get you up to different parts of the map. You do it by walking onto the lift, looking at it, and just sort of moving your for me again, left hand. You actually feel like Magneto a wee bit from the first X-Men, you know, when you stand on the metal platform and he's using his arms just to move it. I know a lot of people compare it to like force powers, but I mean, I suppose force powers, Disordered telekinesis, you know, you've got all those kind of comparisons. It's just so good. When I got the ability to move people around and stuff, I was giggling a little away in my chair. Like, I wish I'd recorded it, because I was like a wee kid in a sweetie shop. Like,
yeah, no, I definitely like. You're right. Like at a certain point, like, so I think the eye tracking on PSVR2 for the most part is brilliant. But I think this is possibly the best use I've seen of it so far, or certainly the best implementation. Like, my eyesight's fairly good. Like, I've never needed glasses or anything like that, or been short-sighted, or like I have no problems with my eyes. But like, there is a few games where I've found it almost as if it works most of the time, but then there's other times when it doesn't. But with this, like you say, so just to give an idea, obviously, because anyone listening won't have played it yet, but so you can pick up barrels or you can pick up crates, and specifically for the crates here, because you basically donkey punch enemies with them. Like, so you're picking the crate up with your left trigger, and you lift it up into the air, and then you're just essentially slamming it down, and as I say, donkey punching an enemy to death. And sometimes this crate or barrel will be, say, I don't know, 20 yards in front of you, but you can move it back and forth. But as long as you are looking at that enemy, the barrel will then go essentially to above them, so that when you slam it down, it's always hitting. I mean, it's very rare you miss.
Yeah, I mean, they've done, and it's talking about distance there as well. Like, you know, when it does come to you, again, you know, using the telekinesis against enemies, you have a fairly good range on it. So, and the movements work the way you would expect them to work. So you could be looking at an enemy who's maybe standing in cover above you in an elevated position, who's popping over and taking pot shots at you. Highlight them with your eye tracking, and grab them and pull them forward as you would, and they just fall off, and or you can pick them up and chuck them. And it's just the way they've implemented the controls is just so much fun. Like, yeah, I mean, as you say, donkey punching them quite early on with the crates is fun enough. The way they've got the exploding barrels is quite good as well, because they've utilised the adaptive triggers really well.
Yeah.
So the animation of your character's hand is, if you've got the animation on screen, you crush. So bumped my mic there, I'm getting too excited. You basically, so you've got the barrel, and you pull in, you basically just sort of pull in the R2 button halfway, I suppose, to pick the barrel up. And
yeah,
then
you feel a bit of feedback where you pull it in halfway, and at that point you can pick it up and move it, and then you have to crunch through that.
Yeah, and the animation goes in time with the explosion. It's just, again, it's about immersion, and that's the thing that VR is all about. And it's something that's really obviously difficult to always sell that without playing it. Is the immersion factor, and this is definitely one of the most immersive kind of gunplay based telekinesis shoot 'em ups I've played. Probably the only ones that are on the market, to be fair. It's just a lot of fun. And it is challenging though. That's the thing. It's not just the case like you're overpowered and you're running about killing everyone. You're still like, you know, they will still take you down. The enemies, I feel, have got a relatively good AI to a certain extent. The way they move across the battlefield, it's like this cool particle effect, sort of beaming, sort of teleportation system they've got. They chat away as if they're soldiers, you know, and they
flank to different positions.
They flank around, yeah. The one gripe I've got, the one wee niggle I've got about the enemy types is the fact that you've got this enemy type, and they were the same in Fract, and they've been in games for 30 odd years, and it's that enemy type that just runs up to you and explodes.
I was just going to bring it up. It drives me. Honestly, see, almost every time I've died in this game, it's because of one of those fuckers. Jesus, man. And it's so well sort of like signposted, because before you see it, all of a sudden you just hear this, like it's like almost like a mech, like activating, and then you just hear, and it's like the Terminator running at you, and you go, oh, and it gets in your head, and you're like, oh fuck. Right,
and then they squeal like a pig for some reason.
What direction? What direction's it coming from? What direction's it coming from? And it's not just that; they go down quite easy. Usually one or two shots, but when you hit them in a shot, when they fall, they jump forwards. So you almost sometimes because you're panicking, you know this is going to happen, but you're panicking and you go, I've shot him far enough away, but then he fucking lands right next to you and you're like, oh no, bang.
And I think the other point we should make is maybe, I'm not sure if it's officially procedurally generated, but I think the enemies, I think the maps are somewhat procedurally generated because like the arenas I've played in are very similar. There's subtle differences, and sometimes you'll spawn in, say, like
different areas of the same one.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not just that. The majority of the enemies might be one particular enemy type. So once those enemies with exploding bodies are called Furies. The run I just played there before I came on, I think it was Zone 2 or Zone 3 you first encountered them. And I spawned in, and maybe the first 10 of the 20 enemies I had to kill were those enemies, and they just run at you, and it was relentless. So there's me like chucking them left, right, centre, and they all explode when they land. So that's the other thing as well. If you throw them far enough or hard enough at the ground, that's enough to kill them. And because they explode, it creates a chain reaction. And if you're caught in the wrong place, you're insta killed. You know, it's And I just feel like they're a kind of cheapish enemy type. But I could kind of see why they're there. But there's very similar enemy type in Fract as well.
The best sort of tactic I've found for them is, as soon as I hear that noise now, what I do is I look around quickly, assess my surroundings, and then I try and run to somewhere when I'm against a wall. And then I just stay there and I look for them coming, so that hopefully when I see them from enough of a distance that I can take a couple of shots. Because beforehand I was just continuing on, and then they can come up behind you, they can come up from anywhere. And so I was trying to do that. But yeah, you're right there. One thing that would have been cool, although maybe it would have taken some of the difficulty away, is I would have liked if there was a button where you could sort of leap backwards.
Aye.
Just because, see, once you shoot them and then they land near you, if you could, because you basically have to then do a 180 turn and try and run away, and you don't have the time for that. So if you could just do a little bunny hop back the way, it would help. But then maybe it would take away the sort of threat they impose.
Yeah, I mean, once you've got that telekinesis, because you could basically grab them and hold them in place as well. That's the other thing. You'd shoot them in the head.
True. Yeah,
there's a few different tactics that you could. But that's the thing. It's like the game doesn't teach you how to do this. The game gives you the telekinesis. There you go, off you pop. You know, the world's is your oyster, sort of thing.
And I think that's really cool because there has been multiple moments in the game. Like I say, I've not tried that. I didn't even think of that, holding them in place and then shooting them. But there's been multiple times where I have been in the game and I've thought, I wonder if you can, and then I've tried it and you can. You're like, that's fucking cool. And like you say, they've not signposted it, so you feel smart as fuck and like a badass because you figured that you're like, I figured that out. And the game's obviously wanted you to do it, but it hasn't just come up with a stupid tutorial going, by the way, you should try this.
Aye. Did you know
it's allowed you to be cool?
Yes, it is. And that's why one of the things that's really landed with me, that immersion, that what would you do if you just learned you had telekinesis? Well, other than things we can't mention on stream, but I mean, I'm loving it. I think it's a really cool game. I think they've upped their ante a wee bit because they've got a couple of legendary voice actors on the go as well. So we've got Jennifer Hale, who played the Femshep from Mass Effect.
Yep.
And they've got David Hayter as well, who's obviously Solid Snake. And we're still kind of at that point where we're unraveling the mystery, but they're doing a serviceable job. Like they've elevated it obviously to another level because they're professionals in their field.
Definitely.
So that's pretty cool from Dreams catching, snagging that two top talents of voice acting.
Yeah, it's definitely I think from almost the moment you put it on, you're like, right, this has got high production value.
What's interesting as well is the game, the first part of the game, you again, this is in the trailer, so we're not spoiling anything, but you start off in this beautiful sunset area. Most of the stuff you'll see in the game is this sort of monochromatic kind of environment splashed with colour. The game looks stunning when you first bring it up.
It does, yeah. The graphics are really impressive. I think, like you say, it is very. You could almost at first it looks almost like it's in black and white, but it's got a certain sheen to it when you're in it, and it's one of those things where you're not going to appreciate that until you're in the headset.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, in trailers I was like, that looks quite nice, but it's once you actually are in it with which is the same with a lot of VR games. It's once you're in it, you go, holy shit, this is really nice. And yeah, and like you say, the voice actor's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Like I'm nowhere near completing the whole game yet. I think it's going to take me a while. It's not an easy game, like you say, but I'm intrigued by the story. I'm intrigued to see more about what's going on. Obviously, we don't want to spoil any of that, but yeah, it's leaving interesting breadcrumbs, and that you want to keep pushing and find out what's going on next.
Definitely, yeah. And as you progress through the zones, the sort of maps start to change a little bit as well. I think of it a wee bit like Inception, because that's the whole point, is you're going into somebody's kind of subconscious, aren't you? And the deeper you go, the more kind of fucked up it becomes.
Yeah.
So like some of the maps become obscured with snow or this fog, making it even harder. Then you're surrounded by enemies. It's a really challenging, fun game. Like, it's not. Anybody that wants a VR game with a challenge, this is definitely out there. But at the same time, makes you feel like a complete badass with the abilities.
Yeah. At times when I've been playing it, there's I don't know if you played it yourself, but there's a VR game called In Death, and one of my friends absolutely loves this game, and I think I've yet to give him a shot at this, but I think he's gonna have a ball with this, because it's not a similar game. It's completely different. But it's got that very same sort of restart, go again, can I do better, sort of look to it. And I think like he's big on that sort of stuff, and I think he's gonna have a blast with this. Yeah,
and that's it. And again, I can't stress this enough. Like, I mean, when you die, okay, fine, it's frustrating. But there was an example where kind of early into the game I died, and I went and I had a look at the unlocks, and I'd unlocked a good 20 to 30 skill points. Because it is literally stuff that you're doing in the game anyway, like kill an enemy with a crate 10 times, or blow up a barrel, kill an enemy 10 times, and then you unlock like 3 or 4 skill points. I don't think they're actually called skill points in the game, but it's the gist anyway. I think I did one just before it came off, which was clear one entire zone without using a weapon. So there you're basically picking folk up, throwing them around, blowing up items. And you earn like 4 points just from that one skill. Complete that one challenge rather. So yeah, no, I really am having a ball with it. It's so good.
What I love about that as well is that, like, again, I was looking at that as well and trying to be like, right, I want to get more upgrade points to become stronger. So I'm looking at this, and it was making me play in ways that I wouldn't have thought of. So, like as I said, I was instantly, as soon as I went in, I'm like, right, tactical. I'm slow, methodical, trying to get through it. Like, almost as if I get hit with a bullet, it's actually going to fucking hurt. That sort of shit. Aye, pretty much. And so when I look at that skill tree, it's like again, like with SMG, I'm like, I don't really like the SMG at first. I didn't like how the recoil on it, and then looking at that, going, oh, but if I get 100 kills with the SMG, that's going to give me, I think it's 3 points. I could really do those 3 points, right? I'm just going to run in. So I was like, right, my next run, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to sprint up to people's face and just blast it straight down their mouth. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's it. And you do have to adapt based on the weapon, because again, I've just unlocked the shotgun, so you have to be up close personal to use the shotgun. And it's the same principle, you have to get X number of kills with that to get X number of points. So the game does encourage you to adapt to earn the points, but at the same time, it's only encouraging you to that point of view for earning the points. It's not there's no tutorials. It's not telling you how to play the game. You could clear that map as quickly and as efficiently as you want, and I think the more quickly and efficiently you do, you get extra points as well. You get that I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like it begins with an S basically, but it's like how quickly and efficiently you clear the map. Basically, you get a grade, don't you?
Yeah. Have you had an A yet?
No, my best is a B. But I think
I'm the same.
Is it not like S is the best? Like S.
Does it go with C, B, A, S?
I think so.
Right. The best I've had's a B. But like I say, I think some of it is tied to time as well, and I have spent the majority of my time with it, like dotting about like an old age pensioner.
But then you've got in zone power ups as well, so you can unlock health pools as well. So if you are like getting battered, you could run up to this health pool and regenerate your health.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, you can unlock sort of in zone power ups, so you could get all your ammo back, replenish your items there. Again, pick up more health, and then when you complete a mission, you get what they're called mind hacks, which are basically buffs that are with you for the whole run, and that can be something like enhanced damage when you kill an enemy, or the more what's the name of the in-game currency again? Resolve or Defiance or something. Defiance. So like that's your in-game currency that you can buy ammo with, and it's the silly wee things like the more of that you carry, the more damage you do. So you get these little in-game buffs as well, which are quite good. And as I say, you can stack them. It's just really good. It's just a really clever, thought-out game in that way. And I'm really loving it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking actually one last thing before we sort of wrap this up is I'm so impressed by the map. So with, again, my dominant hand is my right. So with my left hand, you basically hold out your palm. And when you do, it shows a small holographic circle map that shows you where nearby enemies are. That is so clever. And it shows you your health, it shows you how many enemies are left in that stage, and you've also got, so you're in the centre, and it will show you from your position, I don't know what the radius is, maybe like 10 metres round or whatever, but it shows you where the enemies are. And I don't know, again, like I just think it's so well done that you can just, I'm constantly just pulling up and going, right, okay, and then heading off in that direction.
Yeah, and it's that whole idea of the game where you're meant to be the hunt. You're meant to be the hunter, but because that's what it tells you on there how many enemies you've got to kill, where they are, and all this. But it's so quick where that, especially later on, where that's actually flipped around, and you are the hunted, and you're using that map not to hunt them and to get closer to them, but you're using it to actually get the fuck out of there.
To get a breather. To
get a breather. Where's my nearest health? I am dying here. I need to go and get this health. So you're using the map more for survival than you are for going after them. It's a cracking feature, and it's just one of many. Again, in VR, it's just so immersive and intuitive the way they've actually brought this into play.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so as I said, this podcast is going live right as the embargo lifts, but the game doesn't launch for another week on July 4th. But when it does, I mean, I think you can tell by what we've spoke about today that the two of us are absolutely loving it. Would definitely recommend picking it up. There will be a review on the website probably by the end of the week. Now that the heat's died down, I can actually fire into it a bit more. But yeah, it's looking like I think certainly a must-own PSVR2 game for me.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's one of the big PSVR2 exclusives that are. I mean, that's one of the things that people are crying out about. Are they're wanting PSVR2 exclusives, and this is definitely up there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like if you are one of those people that has been looking for stuff that is just exclusive to PSVR2, support Endreams. They make great games, and they've got more in the pipeline as well. So yeah, I'd definitely recommend picking this up. Highest recommendation from me.
Yep, definitely. Same.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much, Jamie. I appreciate you coming by today and talking some Synapse with us.
No, thank you once again for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Anytime.